Graduates, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our keynote speaker.
There's one thing that everybody here watching shares, that everything in our own immediate experience supports our deep belief that we are the absolute centre of the universe, the realest, most vivid and important person in existence. Now, we rarely talk about this sort of natural, basic self-centeredness because it's so socially repulsive, but it's the same for all of us. There is no experience you've had that you are not the absolute centre of. And we share one challenge, getting free of our natural default setting, which is to be deeply and literally self-centered and to see and interpret everything through this lens of self. Consider the old saying, the mind is an excellent servant but a terrible master. This phrase, so simple on the surface, actually expresses a great and terrible truth. It is not the least bit coincidental that adults who commit suicide with firearms almost always shoot themselves in the head. I submit that this is what the real value is in exercising control over your mind, to keep from going through your comfortable, respectable adult life as a slave to your own head and to your natural default setting of being uniquely, completely alone. The fact is, there happen to be large parts of adult life that nobody seems to discuss. One such part involves boredom, routine, and petty frustration. Let's say you've spent 9 hours at your challenging job. You're tired and you're stressed. All you want is to go home and have a good supper and maybe unwind for a couple of hours. But then you remember there's no food at home. You haven't had time to shop this week. It's rush hour, so the supermarket is packed. You can't just get in and out quickly. You have to wander all over the crowded aisles to find the stuff you want. And you have to maneuver your way through all these other hurried, annoyed people, and you have to grit your teeth and try to be polite as you ask them to let you by. And then it turns out there aren't enough checkout lanes open, even though it's the end of the day rush, which is stupid and infuriating. The point is that petty, frustrating crap like this is exactly where the work of choosing comes in. Because if I don't make a conscious decision about how to think and what to pay attention to, I'm going to be pissed off and miserable every time I have to food shop or make my way home. Because my natural default setting is the certainty that situations like this are really all about me, my hunger, my fatigue, them in my way. And look at how repulsive most of them are and how stupid and cow-like they seem. And look at how deeply unfair this is. I can't even get home to eat and unwind because of all these stupid people. The thing is that there are obviously different ways to think about these kinds of situations. It's not impossible that the Range Rover that just cut into the traffic jam is maybe being driven by a father whose child is horribly hurt or sick, and it's actually I who am in his way. Or I can choose to look differently at this lady who just screamed at me to move down the carriage. Maybe she's not usually like this. Maybe she's been up 3 straight nights holding the hand of her husband who's dying of bone cancer. Of course, none of this is likely, but it's also not impossible. The alternative choice is unconsciousness, the default setting, the rat race. The constant gnawing sense of having had and lost some infinite thing. And the world will not discourage you, because the world of men and money and power hums along quite nicely on the fuel of fear and contempt and frustration and the worship of self, alone at the centre of all creation. But if you've really learned how to think, how to pay attention, then you will know you have other options. You have the choice. It will actually be within your power to experience a crowded, loud, consumer hell-type situation as not only meaningful, but sacred. You get to decide how you're going to try and see it. You get to consciously decide what has meaning and what doesn't. None of this is about morality or religion or big fancy questions of life after death. The truth is about life before death. It's about making it to 30 or maybe 50 without wanting to shoot yourself in the head. It is unimaginably hard to do this, to stay conscious, day in and day out. It takes will and mental effort, and if you're like me, some days you won't be able to do it. Or you just flat out won't want to.